Hello and welcome back to That Time of the Week. I'm your host, Maddie Smith. Let's get into the topics for the week. Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi's houses were vandalized this week, to which McConnell and Pelosi said, which houses? It was McConnell's house in Louisville and Pelosi's house in San Francisco. We could call that a tag team effort. Tagging? Graffiti, tag team. That's a pun, motherfucker. Mitch McConnell responded, I just hope my neighbors aren't inconvenienced by this radical tantrum. No, but they are inconvenienced by not having money. So that sucks for them. It's been a crazy week politically. Congress just started their 1/16th or something term. They are saying that it's the most diverse Congress in the history of Congresses, which is something this podcast has trouble with. And you know what? In my defense, I don't have a lot of friends. So that's that. Diversity, though, in Congress isn't necessarily a good thing. We have new Congresswoman Lauren Boebert coming in, gunslinging female from Colorado, who argued that she should be allowed to carry a gun into Congress. By some sort of weird law, she was allowed to, because Congress is the most unsafe place with a demographic of a nursing home. Of course, you'll need your gun for bingo. Good luck. Boebert comes from aptly named Rifle, Colorado, where she owns a restaurant called the Shooter's Grill, where waitresses bear arms. And for the first time ever, I thought Hooters is actually very family friendly. And Mike Pence is relatively liberal. And our final topic for the day, we got some Twitter drama with Jeopardy's newest potential host, Ken Jennings. We thought he was a virgin, guess not. A few years ago, he tweeted, is there anything sadder than a hot person in a wheelchair? Something like that, right?
Yep.
Something along the lines of a hot person in a wheelchair is a waste. To which I say to Ken, is there anything worse than an ugly smart guy? Okay? Because that's what you are. On one hand, it sucks for him because that's kind of embarrassing. And on the other, I'm like, stop digging up people's old tweets. I got shit out there, but you know what I do? I delete them because I am progressive. All right? So let's get the show started. We have two incredible guests today. You're going to love them. You might know them from the Celebrity Memoir Book Club podcast. First of all, we have Claire Parker.
Hello.
What the fuck is up, Claire?
Thank you. I just want to say I also delete all my tweets. It's called the SNL sweep, and I do it every time someone gets canceled. I go, Claire, sorry, don't Claire, wheelchair, and just make sure I didn't make the same mistake. And I delete everything questionable.
Totally. See, actually, I'm similar to you, but I have, I've put my name into a website called DeleteTweet.com. And you guys should do this. It automatically deletes tweets older than however long you want. I think mine is actually 6 months because I'm like, I'm not fucking with you guys.
That is so
smart.
smart.
Yeah. And honestly, I went through my old tweets once. They were more embarrassingly bad but you never know what the fuck people think of, what your likes are, what you're retweeting.
I went through, and just to be safe, I just searched the word black just to make sure. And I had...
You never know.
You never know. And I had a tweet where it said, this is it good at getting rid of black? And then it was a typo. And I was like, what was I trying to say here? And I had to read an entire thread where I found out it was actually a thread about skincare, and it was a typo for heads. I was talking about like blackheads.
Oh, blackheads.
And I was like, oh, those are fine to not want, but you know what? We're going to delete the tweet just to be safe.
You know what? These kids are chopping shit up. You never know what's going to, and when you get SNL, you'll be thankful.
The SNL sweep, you got to do it. I do it every week.
Literally. I know that I don't have any tweets out there because, as many people might know, I almost got canceled last year for tweeting about a library. Someone, a woman in my Instagram feed went to the library for the first time in her life and posted as if she had discovered it. She was like, you can get books for free. I'm telling everyone I know. And people called me like a cunt. I got like 200,000 likes. And someone was like, it's over for you, Maddie. We're going through your tweets now. And nothing ever came from it.
Hilarious.
And I was like, well, thank you for doing the work for me that I needed before I got any jobs.
Nobody will check your tweets better than a hater.
A hater.
That's so true.
And haters gonna hate Ken Jennings.
I did the same thing. I was looking for my name in keywords, and I did black, and all I could find was like a series of tweets about how much I hate black skinny ties.
which is incredibly problematic in my opinion. Just get rid of that.
I just like really think it's like, what do you think you are? That fucking British
Right.
guy from that Blackjack movie? Get the fuck out of here.
Honestly, any sort of tie that falls out of the norm for me, no, we're not doing
I
it.
also
Who's
think
wearing
it's
a
like
tie?
2020. Stop putting ties on. You look stupid.
I totally-
What are you in Congress? You look old.
Let's introduce our second guest. So sorry for the interruption. We got talking about blacks. Give it up for give it up for Ashley Hamilton. What the fuck is up?
What's up?
I like how I said give it up for, and there's no one here.
I know, but they're clapping.
They're clapping. Yeah,
Someone's clapping.
the Patreon
I can
is
hear it.
freaking out right now.
I'm not sleeping well, but there's someone clapping up here.
No way, dude. Have you guys been sleeping well? I've been sleeping terribly.
I
Not
slept
at all.
terribly, specifically last night. I woke up.
Me
and
too.
hadn't slept at all.
I just like every night. I've been like getting some real, like doing some real like 4 a.m.
Yes.
what's on the internet
Me
days.
too. What happened to me yesterday is I went viral on TikTok.
Nice.
You're not sleeping that night.
No.
Mm-mm.
You're gonna watch the noties come in.
Every second.
Every
Refresh me every minute of every
Refresh.
day.
You look at your follower count, you're like, oh, we're cooking. Okay, well, let's move on to our next segment before anything crazy happens. Our first segment is called Let's Sync Up. Okay, so we're answering a question just to get all of us on the same page. Today's question is, if you could go on a date, we don't know what's going to happen on the date. It could be fucking, we don't know. With any celebrity, who would it be?
Okay, so I have two.
I have two as well. Go
I
ahead.
have my honest to God crush who I'd want to bang, and then I have my career crush who I think would launch my career the best.
Oh my God, that's so
Wow.
thoughtful. Okay, mine were purely I want to have a great convo with over steak, but I love this. I
I
respect
don't.
this so much.
Oh, I'm not attracted to a single actor.
wow.
That's the thing. That's why I had such a hard time with this question, is because I think the thing is, there's people that I admire and there's people that I would want to date, and I don't want to date anyone that I admire.
Interesting.
I do think that might be one of the larger problems you're having with dating.
For sure. It definitely is. But like with actors and like famous people and stuff, like I do think the thing that makes you want to be famous is disgusting, and I'm
Yeah.
unattracted to that in a person. But then there's people that I'm like, well, I fucking
So
love
true.
you.
I
So-
find it. Yeah, I find it like unappealing sexually that you looked in the mirror one day and said I should be an actor. I find that like
exactly.
really
That's
yay.
I no, totally, I agree, and I think it's the same as about comedians.
Yeah.
When I first started comedy, I'd be like, "You guys are so cool up there," and I'm like, "Ugh, you have problems."
Yeah.
And you're
And
probably
like
a
everything you're
sociopath.
doing is fucking sick.
Yeah, sick. But there is, I'll go with mine just to let you know, there is one celebrity crush who I have who I think is, who transcends these, which is The Rock. He is mine. I would love to go on a date with him. I feel like he'd be like, everything I say, I'd feel like, that's great for you, man. It would be more like a leadership symposium.
He also started out an athlete, which I
Right.
think does sort of jump that hoop where he was
Right.
already like showbiz. Like I think you could say like LeBron is one of those people where it's like, yeah, he's in movies and stuff, and like after he's probably gonna like try and do like a full acting career.
Totally.
I think.
Or like,
But it's different. He didn't like look in the mirror and say I want to be an actor. He like looked
Right.
in the mirror and was like, I'm the best basketball player except
Right.
for Michael Jordan.
and they pulled him in. They pulled him into show
Yeah.
business because he could sell.
My problem with The Rock is this, and it's that enough is enough. He has 3 kids, and I don't think he's met one of them.
Yeah.
The first time he sat down to a meal with any of his children was during this pandemic because it was
Yeah.
illegal for him to work. And I do kind of feel like, all right, The Rock, I get you came from nothing, you made something of yourself, you got $7 productions or whatever because you started with $7. But I do think at some point, what was it all for if you can't spend time with your children? I don't think he would say very good for you, Maddie, on your date because
That's
he
what I
wouldn't be
want.
listening to you.
That's
He
what
would
I
be,
need.
Do you know what I mean?
That's
He
what
would,
I need. Yeah.
but he would have no idea what you were saying.
Right.
That's like not even an issue to me. The only reason I wouldn't go on a date with a Rock is because he's like too oiled for me.
Really?
Yeah, I don't love an oiled up hairless person.
For me, him specific, and usually I don't. I see what
Yeah.
you mean. Usually, if I'm at the gym, I'm like, no. But knowing he is the oiled person,
That's true. That's
if,
true.
if anything, if I don't like something in someone, I will like the one thing, the number one of that thing.
Yeah.
If I don't
I get
like
that.
Brooklyn guys, I will like the Brooklyn guy.
Right.
You know
well,
what
I mean, it's like if you are gonna like imitate this character, then like be the best at it, and
Yes.
that's hot.
that's hot. He's
Yeah.
very authentic to me.
Yes.
And yeah, so that's mine.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So mine is okay. I couldn't remember who I recently was like. I do have a crush on this person, but I've always said the one actor I find to be very hot is Liam Hemsworth.
Oh,
Miley's reject.
Interesting.
He is like objectively, that's a hot
And, like,
dude.
It's
I'd
tough to
take
say,
him
did
over
Miley
Chris.
reject him? I don't know that
I
is
think-
how it went.
Well, I
She
just listened to her
framed it that
album.
way.
I just listened to her album,
Yeah.
and I think it's not that she rejected him, but that she was like, if you wanted me to stop cheating on you, then go.
Right.
Like, we can date, but don't ever expect me to be home.
Totally. I think she was into a little more kinky stuff than
Yeah.
he was. He seems incredibly vanilla.
Yes.
Not
Yeah.
even, which is actually pretty hot to me. I'll take a
and I
missionary
will
guy. That's
say,
great.
in his defense, I don't know why I'm so obsessed with being like I love Miley, but I think that like when they got together, she was like a Disney star,
Yeah.
and he was like perfect. And then she
Yeah.
was like, by the way, I am a rock star, and I'm going to be naked most of the time. And he
Totally.
was like, I don't know.
I mean, I think compared to that, he would happily date a comedian who talks
Yeah.
about her vagina. Like, I
think Liam Hemsworth would be like, "You're so funny. I'm not funny at all. I love what you
Yes.
do."
Yeah,
I
he would
don't
be
know- I couldn't
supportive.
even never do that. Easy. I thought
yes,
this
I
about
do
Liam Hemsworth.
believe
Yeah.
that he would say, "Oh, I could never do what you do is so hard.
totally.
You're so brave."
Totally. I
I one
love
time
that.
went to a birthday party of this girl who was like one of the top rock climbers in the world, and she like will scale unscalable mountains that are like upside down.
Oh my god! Does
She's
she have fingers like
5'3". She's like a
fingers?
jack. She's all biceps.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Wow, I could never do what you do. You're so courageous."
Oh.
And I was like, "You could die.
Right.
You literally could
Insane.
die."
Totally.
I'm just a dumb bitch who needs attention.
Anytime people are like, "I could never do that," I'm always like, on the outside, of course you couldn't. And on the inside, I'm like, you could. It's
if you
so
could
fucking
see
easy.
who does,
Anybody could,
so
except for the
easy.
people who don't. That's the thing. Is like
Yeah.
I was talking to a guy recently. I'm in the dating world. It's beautiful. I love it out there. And like I told him that I do stand up, and he was like, "Oh yeah, right before the pandemic, I was thinking about starting stand up." And it's like,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
you didn't, so you don't do it, and I do. So
Right.
please stop talking.
And what's the value in you telling me that?
Yeah, he was like, I was gonna try and do stand up, but then the pandemic happened, and so I learned to play guitar instead. And I was like, okay, the fact that you think that those are the exact same thing means
Right.
you couldn't have done stand up.
And you will not respect me, so I have to swipe left on you.
Yeah,
And I also think that most male stand-ups I know should have just done that.
I agree with that.
learn guitar.
Yeah, they
I
all
do think he did the right thing, but the fact
Yeah.
that he in his mind is still like, oh,
totally.
that's a thing. We're the same. I was like, we're not the same.
I know that would be like, oh, I wanted to be a teacher, but I learned to draw instead.
Yeah,
Ugh,
I don't know.
what a loser. Ashley, who's yours?
Okay, I feel like the only actor that I'm genuinely attracted to is Colin Farrell.
Oh my god,
Okay,
that is such
yeah.
a good one. That is the one guy that everybody I know wants to fuck.
I like really ever since I was young have always been like even in Daredevil where he's like a bald fucking
Yeah.
weirdo with a head tattoo.
Yeah.
That like honestly might be where some of my current attractions come from. I'm just like I don't know why this works, but I just love it. And I'm
Yeah.
obsessed with Ireland. I will say
Totally.
like in terms of like wanting to date people versus like loving their work. Like there's so many people where I'm just like if I ever met this famous person,
Yeah.
I think it would ruin everything for me.
Definitely. What's your favorite Colin Farrell movie?
I love In Bruges.
Mhm.
I could not name one, but I do love him.
Yeah, he's pretty hot.
He's so hot.
My other celebrity who I would want to go on a date with, this one, I don't know, maybe I'm creating someone in my head, but John Hamm, I think, is so fucking hot.
He is.
However, he's
I've
a
heard,
problem, I think.
I say he's a raging
I
alcoholic,
heard
and for
that
that
too.
reason, I feel like he is not a celeb crush because I do think if you lived in New York long enough, you could accidentally hook up with him
I
and,
also
good point.
and feel like or like turn him down. Like he's somebody you'd run into at a dive bar, and you'd be like, "John Hamm, what are you doing here, like drunk alone?" And then he would like you would strike up conversation, and then he'd be like, "All right, you want to come home?" And you would just be like, "Oh, I actually feel sad for you, and I don't
Yeah.
want to have sex with you."
I know, and
it's possible. I had heard really good things about him up until like a couple years ago. Honestly, I think that girl that he was with for like 11 years like
Yeah.
kept a good head on his shoulders.
Me
And
too.
then when they broke up,
dude.
he like
She made the worst movie of all time, though.
she
What
made a
was-
lot of bad
what was she
movies. She
in?
made like 3 movies and none of them make any sense.
It's like Friends with Money or Friends with Kids or something. And because of John Hamm, she got every SNL character in it, and it's like Megan Fox is in it, and like
Oh.
it's just like everybody famous is in it, and it is abysmal.
Well, I will say, I think he was like sober with her, and now he's just like sloshing around because he's with a
Yeah.
younger girl.
He's
now,
really
right?
sloshing around.
Yeah.
That dick is waggling.
That dick is waggling, and it does seem like Don Draper come to life. I don't know if you guys
Yeah.
watch Mad Men, but he was spiraling at the end of the show.
No,
into
but I
alcoholism.
know any man from the 50s or 60s was an
Was
alcoholic.
drunk.
was an alcoholic.
Was
beats
a
his
sloppy
wife.
alcoholic
Yeah,
who just
totally.
Yeah.
But I do think, without knowing his personality, he's incredibly attractive. Like if that was my friend's
Yeah.
dad, I would bone him so
Yes.
hard.
I would love
peg him.
to.
Yeah.
Any other celebrity dates?
I feel like I would love to be linked to Pete Davidson for the headlines because I do think dating him is a career.
Oh, is that the career one? Okay, yes.
And I do think I like the idea, like they'd be like, Pete Davidson finally settles down with a comedian, and everybody like, she just really gets him because she's also funny.
And then you could ride that headline to the tippy top and then break it off and be like, just really try to find someone that you actually like, Pete.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, or maybe go to therapy. I feel like Pete should go back to Staten Island and maybe like bag groceries for a few years and like let the top half of his brain fully form. Like I do think he should not have made it as soon as he did.
And I
For
think,
sure.
my opinion, it was rude of SNL to do what they did because they had no idea what they were dealing with, and he was so young, and they think they can just pluck someone out, and it's nice of them when you don't know what you're doing to someone's brain chemistry.
Yeah.
When you put them into A-list fame at that time
It
of
was
their life.
insane.
I will say people must just fucking love him because they do keep giving him chances.
I've heard that in like just jiving, he's like very nice, very generous. Like in King of Staten Island, the cast was so big because he kept thinking of people he wanted to put in it. So I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one way to go about it, you know?
I think that'd be good for your
Generous.
career. My second date is Rihanna.
Oh.
Because I don't know. I've never had sex with a girl and I don't think I want to, but I would want to just like have dinner and hang out and talk and like go party with her and like just have a love. I just think she'd be the funnest celebrity in real life to spend a couple hours with.
A couple hours. I'll take a week.
I would take a week. I'm just saying if it's a date and she,
Right.
you know, if it's like one day, I'm not trying to push it, but I like would try to push it. But then I would also have so much anxiety about her being
Right.
like, okay, date's over. Let's
I-
go home.
I went to a strip club in Vegas once when I was in college, and the stripper there said that Rihanna came by a lot. And the stripper was like, yeah, Rihanna is really in touch with her sexuality. And I just remember being like, yeah, no fucking duh.
Yeah.
I can see
Look at her.
Yeah, have you seen her? Have you heard her
I like
music?
can't think of something less helpful to tell me. You know what I
I know.
just looked up? And Rihanna has had 33 number one hits.
She's
Dude, and you
so-
start listing them off and you're like, oh my God, I forgot.
Every
about
song she did was a number one
Disturbia.
hit.
Yeah.
Beyonce has had 22.
Wow. No one talks about
Taylor
why.
Swift has had 6.
And also, like, Fenty Beauty is like a legitimately successful makeup company.
And-
Fenty, the lingerie is like
Yeah.
a legitimately, like, she created a like brand that is a actual contender with Victoria's Secret.
Yeah.
Like, she has conquered every single thing that there is. She was in Ocean's 8, which wasn't good, but
She
Yeah.
puts
is,
on weight,
but
she
she
takes
was
off
in-
weight. People think she's beautiful both ways. And that, as a
I
woman, is
agree.
the highest form of power.
Something
It's-
I can't do.
I just like literally have
Nobody
never
can.
seen anything of her not looking absolutely pristine.
Yeah.
And that is like even remember when she used to, oh my God, do you remember when she used to do that thing where she would leave restaurants holding the wine glass? She would,
I never
oh
saw
my
that.
God, Google Rihanna with wine
Okay.
glasses. She did this thing for a couple of years. She probably still doing it where she would like go out to dinner and like just, if she like didn't finish her glass of wine, she would just like leave with the glass and the wine and like drink it in the car.
Wow, that's
and I was
great.
like, it's so powerful.
That's amazing. My favorite thing about her is how she kind of like removed herself from the
Yeah.
spotlight, just like chilling, and like rumors are just like she's just kind of eating snacks and smoking weed. Well, let's move on to our next segment. I feel like we're pretty synced up. I'm feeling good. Our next segment is called Emotional Issues.
In the height of emotion, it's not always easy to stop and think things through. But if you'll just slow down, then judgment has a better chance to take hold.
I've got him.
Me too. I got him too. Today we're parsing through Reddit.com.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we're on the Ask Women Reddit page because that's what we are. And let's go down. We got some great questions today. These are I don't know why these are on the Ask Women page. I feel are men posting on this page to ask women
Are
anything?
I wonder
Children
if other
asking?
women are asking.
I don't know if it's other women because there's
Or is
also
it
a
other girls?
women Reddit page for just women to chill out on.
So I guess it's a mixture.
Yeah, it's a mixture. But the questions people are just on Reddit all day, just talking about
That's true.
themselves.
Can I say, I never understood like who all the content was for, who all the commenters were. And then when I got a desk job where I didn't do any work from 9 to 5, I was like, oh, it's
It's for
me.
me.
Like
Yes.
when you have 40 hours a week where you're chained to a desk with nothing
Yes.
to do, you fucking are getting into fights with your
Totally.
second cousin's best friend
Yeah.
from high school who commented on the same photos. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I become a Reddit addict.
Oh yeah, and you get
Yeah.
responses, and it's like you're talking to people, and you could just be talking about your fucking pubes, and you're like, oh my God, a response. They agree. It's crazy, and it's anonymous too.
I like really don't use Reddit. I only use it like Reddit is an embarrassing place, and I feel like I use it for like one of the more embarrassing reasons, and that is because when I'm rewatching episodes of Grey's Anatomy sometimes, I wonder what other people thought of that, and I don't have any other friends who watch Grey's Anatomy, so I go on the Grey's Anatomy episode Reddit, and I see what the other people, I don't even type, I just like to read how other people, like if other people had the same opinions of me about a character.
That's great. I do that. I did that with Nurse Jackie.
I love Nurse Jackie.
I like to do it for reality TV because
best
then
show
people
ever.
come in with more info. Like people who
I
went to
agree.
high school with them will be like, this isn't even true.
Literally.
For reality, it's very helpful because you're combing the internet
Yes.
for people who know the truth.
I agree. It was
That's
very
true.
helpful during Peter Weber's Bachelor season. There was a lot of tea that season. I didn't
Yeah.
go on for this Bachelorette season because that season sucked ass.
I know.
But any reality show, any show I'm watching, people are like, did you notice how Dr. Coop changed throughout the 7 seasons? I'm like, yeah, I fucking did notice that. And thank you for pointing it out. It makes you feel very special. But these questions are just for the gals. Okay, so this question says, what are 3 things you would tell your high school self? Or maybe we can keep it to one large sentence.
Okay.
I would tell my high school self, start liking yourself. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I spent a long time in high school being like, oh, I want to be like them. I feel like I wasted my time and that I don't remember a lot of it because I spent a long time longing for a different life. That's really sad.
I was really sad. I
Yeah.
would say mine are, like stop like doing things based off of how you think they'll be perceived by others. Cause like I
Yeah.
had that same kind of thing where I just like was so in my head about what other people would think about everything.
Yeah.
And like I still have a lot of like leftovers of it where I like get really panicked about like what people will say if I post something on Instagram. And then I don't know, it's annoying and weird. But then the other really important advice I think I would give myself is to like start getting my hair chemically straightened sooner. I think that would have made a really big difference in my 20s. And
That's
I
a
only
really
started
good
doing
one.
it like last summer. And
Right.
I just like growing up, like I have like a pretty tomboyish mom. And I just always thought that like people who had really great hair just like had really great hair. And
Yeah.
I found out that most people really don't. A lot of people do stuff to it.
Yeah, they're styling. I've thought this a long time too. I'm
Yeah.
like, how does my cousin have such thick, straight hair? It's so
Yeah.
beautiful. Meanwhile, I got frizzy fucking. They're doing.
I had
shit.
I
the
used to always be
frizziest
like, how is
hair.
every girl prettier than me? And then sometimes I'll just be like, oh yeah, they're wearing makeup, Claire.
Yeah, makeup,
That's
hair,
the difference.
clothes.
And I do think that just like having less frizzy hair has been a big game changer in my appearance. And I wish I'd started sooner.
I will say I don't mind the frizz. I think
Yeah.
it's a really nice look. I actually love a frizz, but I also love the straightened hair.
I like, well, when my hair is wavy but not frizzy, it
Yeah.
still like is cool. My
Mhm.
hair, especially in like New York August,
Yeah.
is all frizz. Like
Yeah.
it's like a level of, and it's also kind of straight. So it's like straight-ish but frizzy
Yeah.
hair. It's very confusing
So annoying.
to everyone.
Totally. I wish it
People
was.
walk by, they say, what's up with that?
What are you, a type 1 hair, type 2?
Nobody
What's going on?
knows.
But now that yours looks like Charlotte from Sex and the
Oh,
City.
thank you so
really
much.
thick. Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you
That's
so
the height
much.
of
And her hair is thick as fuck.
But once again, what I would tell myself, it doesn't matter what other people think.
Literally.
Stop thinking about that.
Stop thinking about it. You're gonna wait. You're gonna spend $50,000 to go to college and continue to think like that. Mostly, mine's a money saving thing.
Same.
If I didn't care what people thought, I could have saved so much money.
If I didn't care what stuff looked like, I would have gone to a much cheaper school.
Me too.
And my loans would have been paid off
Right.
before next month.
Yeah. If I didn't have a longing to be something else, I would have gone to like Buffalo instead of where I
Same.
went. Really. Yeah.
Big time. Same.
Yeah. What about you, Claire?
okay, this is my go-to. This is my go-to piece of advice for women. If your boyfriend doesn't like your friends, dump your boyfriend. And if your
Yeah.
friends don't like your boyfriend, dump your boyfriend.
Because you gotta get along with your friends. They're the ones who's gonna be with you forever.
It's also like your friends like don't have an ulterior motive. Like
Yeah.
I guess every once in a while they'll have a crush on your boyfriend, don't want you to be happy or something. But if like they're your friends, like they want you to be with someone that likes you.
Very
And if
rarely.
if your friends hate your boyfriend, it's because he's making you cry all the time. And if friends
Yes.
make you cry all the time, then you shouldn't be with
You
them.
look at me when you say that.
I didn't. And then my other thing is, if your boyfriend, like, I'm not saying your boyfriend's to be best friends with your friends, you don't have to
Yeah.
hang out all the time, but if they're not making the small effort to be like polite and ingratiating, it means they don't respect you enough to like
Yeah.
care about what's important to you.
They just want to finger you.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I dated a guy in high school for a year and a half who fucking hated me.
Yeah.
And my friends.
Didn't we all?
We
I
all
dated someone
did.
last year for like a year and a half who really hated me.
Really similar to mine.
Didn't get along with my friends.
It's the right. If they don't get along, yeah, mine would be like complain about my friends, and my friends would be like, does he like us? We feel like he hates us, and I'd be like, oh my god, he's shy.
Also, if your boyfriend isn't like I think what happens a lot is like girls who are like 19 will have a 27-year-old boyfriend. And when I was in college,
yeah.
all my roommates had 27-year-old boyfriends, and they all hated coming and hanging out with us. And then I'll be like, well, he just doesn't like hanging out with young girls. I'm like, well, then why does he like hanging out with you? Like, if he hates the average 19-year-old woman, then he hates you.
Totally, he hates
like you are your friends, and
He
so if
likes
they
your
hate
body.
your friends,
Yeah.
then like,
Yeah.
what do they like about you?
Totally, he likes
Banging.
having sex with you.
Yeah, and he likes that you like when you get into a fight, he gets to say, "You'll see when you're older," and shut you down.
Ugh, very triggering. As someone who hasn't even dated a 27-year-old at 19, still triggering. I was in a relationship where everyone in the school knew he hated me, and I kept dating him because I had low self-esteem. You know, when your first boyfriend, you're like, oh, we're gonna get married.
Okay, well, that was
Yeah,
gonna be my
I've
second piece of
done that a
advice.
lot.
And I didn't know if that
Such
was
a waste.
like to me specific, but I remember in high school, I saw some tweet recently where they were like, would 17-year-old you be proud of who you've become? And I was like, 17-year-old me's biggest dream was to marry my high school boyfriend to
Right.
prove my high school teachers wrong.
Literally.
They did not give a fuck who I married. They just
No.
thought it was bad that I was crying every day in class.
All the time.
They were like, you probably shouldn't be dating someone who makes you cry every day. But I was like, I'm going to prove them all wrong and I'm going to be married to him forever. They did not give a fuck what I do. If I ruined my own life with that
Yeah.
idiot, they don't care. They were just saying that it's hard to teach math when a girl is crying constantly.
Literally.
like I was not
It's
going to
so
like,
hard.
like I was only hurting myself with that weird goal.
Oh, it's so weird. And I had that too. I was like, okay, so we're fighting a lot now. But once we go to college at the same place, which will be Binghamton, because he loves Binghamton, we are going to make it through college, even though we hate each other now. And then we're going to get married. And it's going to be so awesome. And he's
Was
really
it?
cute. And then we broke up.
I mean, it really is like your life is so easy before you're married and have like think about and if it's that hard in high school, it's never gonna get easier.
Hell
Yeah.
no.
Like we used to have with your ex, like if you can't have fun being young, hot people
It
in
was
your
like-
20s in New
I
York
agree.
City, when do you think you'll be happy? Like when will it get easier than this?
I agree.
And he would, I don't know, there was just like all these random things that happened like early on that I was like, well, once that's not an issue anymore, but like they were all problems because like he created the problems because of who he was. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it wasn't like, oh, we just like had these like really traumatic things happen. It wasn't even like we started dating right before the pandemic and that's like a weird
Yeah.
situation that like maybe makes the beginning, if someone had started dating in like February of this
Yeah.
year and then they were like, wow, the beginning of our relationship was hard because of a global pandemic, I'd be like, fair. But like with this, I was like, I don't know, why was it hard in the first like 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be like super easy.
It's supposed to be like very fun.
really fun. You're supposed to be like addicted to the person. Andrew
Yeah.
was like, I feel like something chemical is overtaking me.
I
And
feel
was
like a chemistry is happening to me.
What is going on? But you don't know until you are in an
Yeah.
easy one. Because I've
Yeah.
been through a million
Yeah.
hard ones, and you're like, make it work.
Well, I had that like, I'm in an easy relationship
Yeah.
now, and I look back, and I used to literally be like, I have to count the good days versus the bad days, and then
Yes.
if there's more bad days, we should break up. And I like look back, and I'm like, oh yeah, it shouldn't be close. It shouldn't like you shouldn't look back at a year,
Yeah.
and it should be like 156 to 149.
It shouldn't look like a basketball game.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a tie. It shouldn't
No
be a
way.
close.
You also
No
shouldn't
way.
be tallying. Like if you
No
are
way.
like, okay, this month,
Yeah.
16 bad day. Let me check the notebook. Let's look instant replay. How was
not
that day?
It shouldn't
Dude.
just be more good than bad. It should be like obviously more good
Yeah,
than
you
bad.
should be able to, at the end of the year, kind of like list your bad ones on one hand.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
this crazy fight we had, and that was crazy. It was good.
And
otherwise.
also, if like the bad things are like life altering things, do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like if the bad arguments that you have are like one of you doesn't want, like, I mean, obviously if you're like teenagers, this doesn't matter. But if you're like an adult woman who's like one of you distinctly never wants to get married or one
Yeah.
of you like rejects monogamy or like doesn't want to have kids and the other one does, like those maybe you only have like 3 big fights a year, but those are pretty key.
Yeah.
I have
Totally.
a friend who just ended an engagement, and I mean, we are like the kind of friends who meet up once a year and kind of catch up. And the first time we met up, she just got engaged, and she was like, "Well, we fight about money, kids, and he doesn't like it when I hang out with my friends. He hates all my friends."
Oh
and
my
I just
God.
and I literally didn't just say so. I was just like, "Well, maybe it'll get better when you're married." And then the next time we hung out with her, she's like, "Well, he was DMing other girls, but just for the first 5 years, and not after
Oh
we
my
got
gosh.
engaged, except for once again this year." And I was just like,
oh my gosh.
well, maybe it'll get better when you're married.
Right.
You shouldn't have every facet of a relationship be an issue.
No fucking way.
It shouldn't be like we don't agree on our future, we don't agree on our present, and also our past is terrible.
It's terrible. Oh, imagine. I can't.
I cannot. I can't.
But I also, I can. But I have a theory that some people also kind of thrive in those relationships. Some people like
yeah.
an up and down, topsy-turvy relationship.
Well, I do think it is chemically addictive in the same way that like Andrew was like, something good is happening.
Totally.
But I do think you think that this is the passion is love. But at some point you just get too old and you're just like
way too old.
in the same way that you can't do raves forever, you can't do those like passionate like we're up till 4 a.m. in love and then we're up till 2 p.m. fighting.
Yeah. Can I say something like sick about my last relationship? Like it's not that bad, but it is something that I like realized about myself afterwards. It's because like I have like learned only how to like stand up for myself and fight in like recent years. And I've like never really had a relationship where we like argued very much.
Yeah.
It was always just like a thing where it was kind of like, okay, we disagree on that.
Totally.
What, like we'd never like had like argue. Like I've never like fought with a boyfriend until this last guy who I dated for like a year and a half. And I like liked that we fought a lot because I felt like I was like learning how to fight and learning where to stand up for myself. And then I was like, do you know what? I was like, oh, I'm like speaking up when stuff is fucked up and like that leads to a fight and that's normal. And then now I'm like, okay, I do think it's like right that you know how to argue in relationships.
Yeah.
But I also don't think I should have had to argue about the things we argued about.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, I feel like there's like you argue because you have a difference of agreement, but sometimes you guys were arguing because he was like, I think I should hurt your feelings. And you're like,
Yeah.
please don't.
But it is a good skill you
I was
came
like,
out with.
I don't like it when you say things that are mean to me. And he would be like, so I shouldn't be honest.
Oh my God. That is a good point. All right.
It was like, he's like, I feel like I can't say things that I think like I have to like watch everything that I say.
my
And I was
God.
like, if it's a mean thought, yes.
If it's hard for you to avoid critiquing and insulting me, then maybe you don't like me.
I was like, I don't understand why it's like necessary for you to say that. Like, I'm not saying watch your language. I'm
Yeah.
saying like, why did you have to say that?
Totally. Well, you know what? He's going to get with someone who doesn't like to or know how to fight. And
they'll be happy.
Or she'll be like a mean Staten Island girl. She'll be mean back to him, and they'll be
Or
like a
she
good
just
combo.
won't be such a fat bitch in the first place, and they'll have no reason to call her that.
All right, I like where the pot is going. That's always a good thought to have after your last relationship with an incredibly toxic man.
If I hadn't been so fat, he would have been nice to
Yes,
me.
he wouldn't have had to say those facts to my face. Okay, question number 3. What do you think of men who listen to Taylor Swift? What a stupid question. Indifferent.
I love Tyler. I love Taylor Swift.
I like Taylor Swift.
You sound like album 1 Taylor Swift.
I love Taylor Swift. So somebody listen to her, I would be happy because we could listen to it together. But I will say part of my damage is that I'm an insanely insecure person. And so whenever I catch my boyfriend listening to a female artist, I do get jealous because
You're
I'm
insane.
Well, I just feel like, wow, that girl's successful and I'm not at her creative field, and it makes me sad.
That's a good point. I did have an ex who had like a T-shirt of a woman singer, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
you like her, Courtney Barnett or something like that? I was like,
I
you like
love
her more
Courtney
than me?
Barnett.
Yeah.
I do think it'd be important to know why he likes Taylor Swift. I just like need.
Yeah,
I don't know.
would love a guy who listens to Taylor Swift but doesn't post about it. Isn't like Swiftie online.
Yeah.
But
If he was
you're-
Swiftie online,
No. But
And
you're
the
talking.
best scenario would be you don't put her on a playlist, but you respect
Yeah.
her songwriting, her
Yeah.
success, her
And her
agency,
trauma.
Yeah.
and are happy when I'm listening to it.
And you don't defend Scooter Braun.
never.
My ideal would be at a party, you're chatting, and then like 30 minutes in, you say something,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh yeah, my favorite song off that album is blah blah blah," and you're like,
or
okay.
or that's such a good bridge. She can really
Yes.
construct a bridge.
I'd be like, my God, I learned what a bridge was because of how well she can construct one.
totally.
And I agree that like even if it was like randomly on some playlists, that'd be fine. But if he like leads, honestly, if leading with any fandom, I would be unattracted to.
totally.
If he was a Swiftie and the fact that he was like doing detective work, I would be like, get your own hobby.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So you listen to Taylor Swift, but do it casually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't boast about that. shit.
Mostly out of respect.
Mostly out of respect. And I actually, that's for like any hobby of yours.
Yeah.
Don't talk
Yeah.
about it unless it casually comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knowing stuff when it comes up in conversation, cool. being like a real freak about that stuff, uncool.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of uncool things happening these days.
One time I
especially
dated
from
someone who
guys.
was really into motorcycles, and every time we would see a motorcycle on the street, he would like stop and like really look at it. And I was like, this is hot.
I'll take the being into motorcycles because motorcycles are pretty cheesy. So if a
Yeah.
guy's super into it, you're like, all right, you're pretty authentic. But if a guy's super into Taylor Swift and posting about it for us to see, that seems a little bit
I don't like a
capitalized
man
male
posts.
feminist type
Yes.
of vibes. Like,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
with you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hashtag I'm with her or whatever.
Right. But the motorcycle's like, you're just
she
a dude.
too.
Yes. She too. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so this next one says, what chore do you hate and why?
I don't like taking showers because I don't like
Oh my
to.
gosh.
It's not a chore.
I don't like to be wet.
That is literally.
So what about washing dishes? Is that
I was
that's
gonna
wet?
say mine is dishes.
Me too.
I was gonna say dishes, but when I really thought about it, I hate taking a shower. I hate washing my face, but sometimes I just look at the shower and I
gosh.
just think,
Wow.
I'm gonna get in and then I'm gonna have to get out and then I'll be wet.
Oh my gosh, you're like a cat. That's so sad. You don't like the warmness and the
I
smells
like
and
to
stuff.
be warm, but I don't
Yeah.
like to be cold. And where you fly, you fall.
Where you, it's so true.
I hate to be wet. And sometimes I'm so cozy. You know where it's
Right.
warm in clothes. And if I'm getting in the shower, I bet I was just in clothes.
So
And I had to take the clothes off.
Right.
And I get in the shower. I live in New York City. Sometimes it just gets cold out of nowhere. You're in there. You're like, sometimes it's too hot, and I got to do that thing where I arch my back a lot so I can wash my hair. But for some reason, it's not hot on my tummy, but it's hot on my back.
I like think that there's something
Such a
wrong
dilemma.
happening here. I like don't relate to anything you're saying right now.
I think you lost me at arching the back.
That your tummy is hot.
Face the water and it's fine, and then you turn around and it's hot.
Right. Yeah, definitely not
I
a
just,
very
like-
symmetrical stream.
I'm nowhere near on board with what you're saying right now.
All right. Well, that's emotional issues. Interesting chore that you have, showering. I mean, quarantine and showering is fun because you get all the fancy soaps and stuff. You make it smell good.
I think my shower smells bad. I'm always putting
There's like something.
Drano in it, and it's just sometimes something's in there.
All right. Well, let's move into our news topics. Up top, we were talking about Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, homes getting vandalized. Honestly, that's what you fucking get for arguing about how much money we're getting for the past 2 months.
Can I say that the only thing I really know about Nancy Pelosi, speaking of hair, is the like helmet hair that she has. I think that if you like pushed her hair down and showed me a picture of her, I like wouldn't know who it is. I only know Nancy Pelosi
Right.
hair and that's it.
Well,
I
hair
know-
and mask combined with this past year. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's all I know of you.
I know that she has giant bazungas.
Huge
Yes.
ass
And
titties.
I think they must be new because I noticed. And if
Yeah.
I only noticed last week, that means they could only be max 10 days old.
Hey, quarantine tits.
I really think she did. They're huge.
That is-
She's old as shit. They should be flat to her belly button by now.
I fucking respect someone of her age and status getting
sexy.
some quarantine bazungas.
Some quarantines.
Dude, she's in there. She's getting haircuts when we're not supposed to.
I
fucking
love
it.
that.
We forget that at the end of the day, Nancy Pelosi's just another rich woman. And rich
I don't know.
women...
They don't forget on Twitter. They're-
Oh, not on Twitter, but people
But
in the
we-
regular world
Yeah.
forget. Like people who call
Us.
people who are like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Queen.
Before
Yeah,
I
those
knew
kind of
who
people.
Nancy Pelosi was, because she must have not been Speaker of the House at this point, but I just remember hearing that she had gotten a lot of work done. It must have been before she got promoted to Speaker of the House, and it was kind of like,
Like she thought she was going to be speaking more, and so she had to get her face sucked up.
Yeah.
yeah, well, I think it's like the way actresses prepare for like a big TV comeback. She had to get her face redone for her TV comeback
Right.
on C-SPAN.
I get it.
I would do that too. If I was looking at myself on that boring ass show, I'd be like, I got to give them something to look at, baby.
So their home got vandalized. People are writing, "Where is my money?" on their garages. Do we
I
think?
got my money. Did you?
No.
I got my money.
What the fuck? 600?
And it's because
Yeah,
we're both employed. So I guess they hit the employed people
Oh
first.
shit, that's a
Yeah.
little
And
counterintuitive,
then the
but I
unemployed
respect it. They're like, you guys who need the money can wait, no problem.
Hell yeah.
So
Well, we got direct deposit already set up, you know, so it's
yeah.
pretty easy.
Well, I got my last stimulus through direct deposit, and I still wasn't working. But I'm also kind of like a non-worker, even outside of the pandemic, kind of like
Yeah.
self-employed. So
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. I will say for them to be like vandalizing Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell's houses, I don't know how any government things work. And so
Yeah.
I'm just like, what did you think was going to happen from this? Like,
yeah, I don't think it's gonna turn Mitch McConnell from the conservative.
like
he
they're
is.
not going door to door.
No.
He doesn't even know what money you're talking about.
I know he already forgot about the 2000. He like
Yeah.
shut it down 2 weeks ago, and he hasn't thought about it since.
Yeah, he like walks into that room, listens to people whine, and then like
Yeah.
walks out, and he's like, "What time is golf?" Like he
Yeah.
doesn't know what. He's like, "Why did they paint on my house? I was getting it painted next week, and I guess now there's more work to be done."
Yeah. And now we have a new Congress that's more diverse than ever. I don't know if you guys read about this bitch, this gunslinging Lauren Boebert.
Can I say that gun bar?
Boebert.
The
I think it's, yeah.
like the gun, the
Oh,
Hooters,
yeah.
where
Shooters
you
girls.
Shooters girls.
Shooters,
My
yeah.
goodness, I would fucking love to see what the customer behavior is like when someone gets the wrong sauce. I am so curious if they're just like,
Seriously.
I asked for ranch dressing, and she's like, did you?
Yes. And then what is like, if someone uses a gun in there and someone gets hurt, so are you guys panicked, or are you guys more like, well, we have guns and that's how it works around here?
Yeah, like someone.
Yeah, it's like, getting hurt is just part of our life.
Yeah, totally.
Like getting shot is like all in a day's work, and that's why I carry a gun to protect myself from getting shot after I get shot.
It's like a video game. It doesn't make sense.
The thing with the restaurant is like when I go to restaurants after a good meal, I like to like unscrew my belt a little.
Oh, and you're saying what if the gun comes loose?
Yeah, if a gun's attached
Right.
to your belt, like, and you're just like, oh,
Right.
The gun wobbles out, hits the ground, shoots somebody.
Game over.
Luckily, they've got a gun to protect themselves.
I mean,
Right.
you know, like going to the bathroom and meeting all like the drunk girl who's just
Yeah.
like, oh my God.
Right.
Like, why are you crying? Your boyfriend sucks. Now imagine if that girl had a gun.
A gun. Imagine going to a college bar and everyone has a gun. I would be so scared.
oh God.
That's-
Oh God.
I never really got into gun people.
I'm not a gun
Obviously
person.
not.
You know
I'm
who's a
not a gun
famous
person.
I always hear the story of before I started, there was an open micer who was a retired New York City cop who would carry his gun with him everywhere and was a big believer that the Central Park Five were guilty. And he famously left his gun on the toilet at Phoenix Bar after getting very drunk at an open mic.
First of all, if you guys don't know, Phoenix is a gay bar. So this guy he might have not have even known Phoenix was a gay bar.
I will say
I do
someone who
think-
leaves their gun at a gay bar doesn't seem. I don't know. I don't want to
Okay.
stereotype. I don't. Maybe everyone at gay bars is dropping their guns
Yeah,
places.
I mean, he
yeah.
didn't do it on purpose. He was drunk and
That's
peeing and like
insane.
he did
I'll
what I
tell
just,
you what.
he, like, took
Everyone
it out
that
of-
shows up there
Yeah.
brings two guns.
Hey, I'm bringing 3. That's insane that he did that.
Yeah.
You can't carry a gun in New York, though, right?
I guess you can if you're a policeman.
Oh, right. Even if you're retired?
I guess that's like part of, it's like part your 401k.
That's why I would join, just so
Yeah.
I can carry a gun around when I'm 60 into Phoenix open mic.
Imagine
Okay.
showing up to the Buddha open
Yeah.
mic and being like, I'm next.
Put me next or I'll fucking shoot you. Yeah, so this bitch is coming in, but we do have a very diverse Congress. I don't think it affects us at all. I haven't been...
No, I feel like diverse Congress is like
What does that mean? They mean
diverse.
It's the most women, people of color,
Okay.
LGBT in the history of people. In the history of
right,
Congresses.
but it's like compared to they have like 5 compared to 3.
Literally.
You know what I mean?
It's
It's like
AOC.
it's like the most diverse ever, but like
I know.
that bar is set so low.
I
It's
know.
like today I'm the oldest I've ever been, you know.
I know. It is exactly the same. And how can you like make it any less diverse after the
Yeah.
past 200 years? It's been all white dudes.
I do think that there was like 2 years after slavery was abolished where there was a lot of black people in the House of Representatives and Congress. And then they went back in, and when they came back in with all of the Jim Crow
Yeah.
laws and stuff, like, but there was like this crazy 2 years in like 1867 or something where there was actually a very diverse Congress.
Yeah. Jim Crow fucked with everything.
I went to a
I know.
museum once and I learned that.
And then finally, we got the Ken Jennings drama. Who would have ever thought that he would be the focal point of my week? Okay, so
Not
Ken
me.
Jennings he's slated to host Jeopardy for 1 week, right? But
Yeah.
I think they secretly have him geared up to take over full time. My theory is Jeopardy is doing the week-long guest host thing to get more people watching.
Yeah.
Because their audience is probably pretty
Dying.
Well, most of them
Flatlined.
died during COVID, right?
Yeah. So it's been a real pandemic
They
for
were
them.
the ones, the Jeopardy producers were the ones who spray painted Mitch McConnell's house.
Yeah.
They're like, keep people home. We need them captive, alive, and watching Jeopardy.
Yeah, so where's my money? It's a double Jeopardy. So Ken Jennings, he's about to host Jeopardy. He had some tweets from not that long ago. I think it was like 2016 or 2018 or something. 2016,
Yeah.
and then later in the week, and I don't know that much about this, he has a podcast, and his podcast co-host came under fire for some
Bean
even
dad.
more questionable tweets.
What did that guy say? He had some anti-Semitic stuff. He uses the
There was
N-word.
he defended some racial slurs.
Nice.
I'll tell you what, that's not a thing that you should ever do. It's like, that's how I feel about the people who are like defending J.K. Rowling, where
Yes.
it's like no one asked her and she said something stupid, but to like step out of your box to be like, listen, here's why
Right.
we shouldn't have equality. It's like,
Yeah.
Dude, she was
must you, like,
unprompted.
no, who asked?
Unprompted in the
Literally.
middle of the worst like pandemic of the
Yeah.
century. Like people are starving to
Yeah.
death, and she's like, "But you know what would be worse if you're
So to
all
like
trans."
defend a slur, like I
Literally.
would rather someone just use a slur than defend a slur.
Me too.
Imagine having a like an op-ed about why trans people shouldn't be allowed in public bathrooms during a time where nobody is allowed to go into a public bathroom. Like, when did
I know.
this even come up? You're
Like,
not
why
allowed to
were
leave your
you
house.
thinking about it.
She's so fucking dumb.
the
And
worst,
I don't know
yeah.
how it happened other than she's just been in the spotlight for so many years and that turns people crazy.
It is a
Yeah.
weird thing to like. I understand being obsessed with like ALS or being obsessed with diabetes or like, you know, everyone has that thing. They're like, I'm obsessed with the foster care system. But to be obsessed with hating trans people is such
Dude.
a crazy thing to like
Yeah.
hitch your wagon to.
Okay, so before we close up today, what do you guys think of when people dig up old tweets of someone who is successful? For me, it's a pet peeve. Get over it.
I think it's just
Also, comedy
so
has changed.
obnoxious. Comedy has changed,
Yeah.
and that's the thing that's so tough is because like stuff that is very fucked up was really funny. Like
Yeah.
I think about things that I said out loud 10 years ago,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, Jesus
I
Christ.
mean, if you watch old like Chelsea Handler, if you watch old like Dane Cook, you watch
Yeah.
Anthony Justin, like the problem is the tweets are easy to read now, but I looked up a comic I love, and there's video of her on Comedy Central like 20 years ago just saying the N-word for punchlines of jokes, like
Progressive.
where literally it's like the joke will be like, I know my doorman's name. I call him the N-word. And
Right.
people are like, that's so funny. And that was just like aired on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so I do get where people are like, I was trying to be funny. Because I think about that all the time. Like when I first was trying to be funny on a blog, I was like looking at Chelsea Handler. And I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
she's funny by saying fucked up mean things.
Yeah.
to like her, like she's like literally using Chewy as like a fucking prop.
Literally.
And I don't know. And now you can't do those things, but it's like if you did them during that time, that's different. Like if Ken Jennings had said that today,
Yeah.
I would be like,
That's weird.
why did you say that?
Yeah.
I will say he's not even trying to be a comedian though. Like I get that like comics were like we were coming up at
Yeah.
a time where being fucked up was like you had to push the edge to be funny.
Yeah.
And then like you like get funny and you realize that that's not that funny. But I was like, Ken Jennings, you were just like trying to be the best accountant or something. Like why were you like why did you need
Yeah.
to say that?
Well, he's
That's
always
true.
been trying to be like the funniest Twitter guy. Like
Oh,
his
has
whole
he?
career
He
has
hasn't
been
gotten to
Twitter.
me.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's like actually pretty Twitter famous. So he's like one of those that you always see and you're like, are you a real person? Like what's going on?
It's just funny because digging through people's tweets like that is a genuinely like hate driven thing to do. Whereas
agree.
like posting like tweeting is such a like off the top of your noggin thing.
Yeah.
Like obviously some people like really plan out their tweets and like write stuff super carefully
Yeah.
and like trim and edit and whatever. But like most people on Twitter are just like, that's a weird thought that I just had.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tweet it.
And also,
And
most
so-
people are trying to be like, what would people like? That's the irony.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
probably tweeted those things thinking people would like them.
Yeah.
And I do think people like grow and change. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that like 19 years old isn't a child, but I do think like
I think people grow
do
and change in terms of like everything, but also in terms like society grows and changes in terms of what's acceptable. And so then if he like didn't post it with like any hateful intentions, but like people are trying to ruin his life,
I know.
that's quite hateful.
Dude, it's so fucking rude.
Yeah.
And like you can see who gets excited about doing it.
Yeah.
Like I won't go on Twitter and then at the end of the day I'll open it up and there's like, the hottest tea is another white guy getting canceled. And I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, well when you get canceled, everyone's gonna celebrate too, bitch.
well, that
So-
happened too.
I know.
That did
Yeah.
happen.
I
We-
mean,
I mean, throwing stones. am I
that was
right?
actually fucking awesome.
I know that one was awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
I do think that the people who celebrate watching people get canceled when they get canceled, there's something a little bit sweet and tangy about it.
Well, that's our pod for today. Thank you guys so much for joining. Ashley and Claire, where can we find you guys?
You can find me on Instagram at Claire the Scare.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me on Twitter at Sorry Don't Claire. And you can find our podcast at Celebrity Memoir Book Club everywhere you get podcasts, everywhere you find Instagram, everywhere you get TikTok, everywhere you get Twitter.
and at CNBC_podcast on Twitter because the username was too long. And I am at Ashley Ham with 3 M's everywhere.
Oh, I never noticed.
It was like a weird, speaking of John Hamm, so Ashley Hamilton was taken, obviously, because that's everybody's
Yeah.
name. And I was like, if I do Ashley Ham 2 M's, people will think I'm obsessed with John Hamm.
Right.
And so I did 3 M's, and that was like 10 years ago. And now I just live that way.
Wow. And it's your email too.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But check out their podcast if you guys like the Celeb Talk today. Check out the podcast. They review celebrity memoirs, so you don't have to.
That's true.
Bye. Thank you.